Hello, hello, hello. I am Shaquana, and I am your host of the Black Girl Book Club podcast. The Black Girl Book Club podcast. The Black Girl Book Club podcast. Hey, and tonight we have the Jacinta Howard with us, and we will be talking about her prototype series and also her being at house in a couple of weeks with us. We're going to be talking about that tonight. So I know you all are really, really excited. And so I'm going to be chatting it up with her. So I'm so glad that you're here with me tonight. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I was excited to get your email. So thank you.
Okay, so what do you know about the Black Girl Book Club podcast?
I know that you're Black girls and you guys feature. Now I know that I know y'all feature like romance authors and you
Yeah.
and you guys talk to them and chat with them and uplift them. So yeah.
Yes, we love to. That was everything that we do. And so that's what we're here to do tonight. For those of you who don't know, we will be attending the House Experience with Alexandria House and the other author that's going to be there. And Jacinta Howard is one of those authors that we're going to get to see in person. So I'm really glad that I get to talk to you tonight so that we can get like some preliminary stuff out. So when we get to the House Experience, I'll be like, hey, it's Jacinta. We're gonna be like
Right.
friends when we get there. So I have gotten a lot of feedback. You were a new author to me. I'm not sure if you know Patrice. She's another host. She's a co-host. She's my book bestie that's on the show with me, but she's read like all of your books. And she
Oh,
introduces us to a lot of really dope authors. Don't tell her I said that, but she does. And she had been saying for a while, you guys have to read the prototype series. You guys have to read the prototype series. And we like, we gonna read it, we gonna read it. Cause whenever she recommends a book, it's always a really good one.
oh.
It's always a really good book. So I knew it was gonna be good. But when we said we were gonna talk to house authors this month, there was one I was like, we gotta read it. Patrice has been, recommended, and so we got into it. So before we get into the actual book, I like to ask a few questions about you. I read about you, so you've been writing for a long time. You're not a new author.
No,
Yes,
no.
you've been in the game for a while. So, why is it important to you? No, first of all, when did you fall in love with writing? And I just learned something about you, so now I know a little bit of background. But when did you fall in love with writing or reading romance?
Well, with writing in general, I've I've been writing honestly since I can remember. I remember like my first grade teacher. Her name was Miss Peterson. She was fantastic. She's like my favorite teacher to this day. But she had us writing books in the first grade and she would like print them out and like make them into like bind them so that they were actually like little books and that was my first that's when I first fell in love with writing because I was always like an avid reader. But I've been like writing for pretty much all my life. And, you know, I've been blessed to be able to write full time. Like that's been my career. Like I've never done anything else professionally besides write. So that's cool.
Right. So that's what I had learned about her before we got on. We were chatting before, and she was telling me that's what she did. She wrote for a living. Like really, really right. So that is so cool. So to that point, do you still have your book that you wrote?
I do have some of them. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I passed them on to my
wow.
daughter. So they're like in her closet right now. She's not super interested in them, but that's okay. But
Okay. Would you ever publish them?
the baby books I wrote, no.
No.
But, I mean, no, they're really like literal, like first grade. The plot was kind of like, but
For the babies, you could publish them for the babies.
I didn't
But
really,
or flip them, make them a little bit more interesting, and then put them out for the kids. Or just say, no.
I don't think so. But
I'm
I
not
mean,
doing that. A different pen name. So you write a lot about romance. From what I've read, you write African American romance, and tell me if I'm wrong.
yeah.
Why is it important to you to tell our stories?
It's important for all the reasons people say, which are basically, it's really important for us to control our own narrative. It's really important for me as a Black woman to be able to write stories where I feel like I'm reflected in the story, like authentically and wholly. And I just feel like the more of us there are in this space, the more access you have to a diversity of like writing style and the types of characters and the kind of situations those characters are in, which I just think there can just never be enough, in my opinion. I mean, we've been flooded with otherness in the publishing market. So I think, there can never be enough Black writers, and specifically Black women writers, telling stories for other Black women.
Wow. So you don't mind the newbies coming into the space. You welcome them.
No, I think that's wonderful. I mean, I'm not, honestly, even before we did this, I was like, I'm not quite as tapped into some of the newer Black romance writers that are around now, honestly. But yeah, of course, I think that's wonderful. I think like I said, there can never be enough. I think it's dope that there's a whole new wave of writers that I can now get familiar with and hope, you know what I mean? And like, um, that's how you keep something going. It can't just
Mhm.
be this many and then it stops.
Right, right, right.
That's a sign of growth. That's a sign of how important it is that we, and I mean, not to get too like,
Speak
philosophical.
on it. I love to hear it. I hear you.
Yeah, that's how you keep it going. And that's like super important, especially when you're talking about an industry that has been traditionally white for decades and decades and decades and decades. And there's been so much gatekeeping that's gone on. Self-publishing in particular, now it seems like traditional publishing is now catching on and trying to be a bit more diverse, which is wonderful. But we all know that was spearheaded by independent publishing.
Yes,
And so
yes.
I think it's great that it continues to thrive and that these women are like taking control, not just of the stories that they're telling, but also control of their business. You see
Mm-hmm.
more and more writers like publishing on their own sites and
Mm-hmm.
kind of getting rid of the middleman, which is cool. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see more writers. The more, the merrier.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. So yes, I love to hear it. I love this community. I've always been a reader, but just like to be in this community deep, it has
Mm-hmm.
been absolutely amazing thus far. Like I love to hear that kind of stuff. LaCorey is popping in. She's another host of the Black Girl Book Club podcast. So we've got her. Hold on one moment. She'll be popping in here in just a sec. So we're going to get into the book, Happiness in Jersey.
Okay.
So let me tell you, and I said this when I posted that we were going to have you on. From the very beginning of reading these books, I got like a Love Jones feeling.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Love Jones.
yes, like it just gave me total Love Jones vibes. It
Yeah.
just seemed it was just like so mellow. I was
Mm-hmm.
always in the basement with the band and all of that. So what did you intend to give that vibe or to give that feel?
Um, I don't know that I was specifically going for a Love Jones vibe, but I do love that movie. I love the intimacy of Love Jones and
Mm-hmm.
like cinematography and the way, like you were saying, like it feels kind of quiet and close and sexy
Mm-hmm.
and hip. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
I think Love Jones, I mean, I could watch that today and that movie's like 25 years old or so.
I could
So
watch it every day.
yeah, I love Love Jones. So I
Yeah.
love vibey things. That's what I always say, vibey. That's not a word, but so yeah, I definitely with the prototype series, well, all my writing, honestly, I I'm a very vibey writer. I
Mm-hmm.
have to set the mood. You have to like I kind of write in a cadence. You can almost hear
Yeah.
I can hear when something's off. I don't know if I'm sounding too like a right
No,
like
no, I get it. I get it.
yeah,
I get it. I'm
yeah,
telling you, I was feeling it. And you
yeah.
can tell that I was going to save this for probably in the middle or at the end, but while we're on the subject of it and the vibe of it all, you're a big music lover.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
huge music fan. I've been yeah, music has really informed most of my professional career. I started out as writing music very early on as a writer. Um, and I still do that now. So
Okay.
yeah, but I'm a huge music fan, and that just like informs a lot of like the creative things that I do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
So since you're a big music fan, give me your top five?
Okay.
I'm
your
LaCorey too, by the way.
your top five uh
Music artists
okay.
or bands.
I would say
I
to be more specific because I got like a real like a 90s feel from this book. So I would say your top five 90s because I'm getting that kind of vibe from you.
um my top 590s. Let me think. Probably Outkast is one of my favorite groups of
Number
Hmm.
one.
clearly.
Right.
They are lyricists,
Yeah.
cannot be
Uh,
duplicated.
yes, no, no. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna go beyond the 90s. I'm just gonna
Okay.
not my
Okay.
top five ever. It changes.
Yeah, like you can
Yeah,
put this on playlist, it's gonna hit every time.
like
And Outkast is one. They in my top
that's
10.
fantastic. But beyond the 90s, I love Stevie Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Ooh.
Minnie Riperton. I love Curtis Mayfield. I
Mm-hmm.
love
So you speaking on 70s and
um,
80s.
yeah, I mean, I go across the board. I mean, I'll go all into every.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to break it down by R&B singers, soul singers, rappers,
Mm-hmm.
my top five favorite rappers of all time are probably Andre 3000, Scarface, Fonte from Little Brother, um, Tupac, and oh, it always changes. Honorable mention, like people like Pharoah Munch. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like I'm like Killer
Yeah.
Mike, obviously.
Oh,
Of course.
hey. Yes.
So, in correlation to your top five, like who inspired you in the prototype series? Like, did you pull from any of the authors? I mean, artists that you like, you enjoy?
I did. I actually for each of the prototype books, I have kind of like a theme. I mean, beyond Outcast, clearly it's called the prototype. That is a for those who don't know, that is an Outcast song. um, but beyond like Dungeon Family and all of them, for Happiness in Jersey, I talk a lot about Marvin Gaye.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the theme throughout that book is Marvin Gaye. For Finding Kennedy, the theme through that one is Curtis Mayfield and Minnie Riperton. I make several
Oh.
references to that throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
For Keeping Willow, it was the Isley Brothers. That was
Yes, that is my favorite.
they
I
listen
put
to the
them
Isley
on
Brothers
all
all
the
the
time.
time. And then for Loving Cassie, it was Stevie Wonder and probably I think it was Stevie Wonder. Yeah, because
Okay.
Yeah, I love
Oh,
it. I love
baby.
it.
That is so cool. So let's get into the book. Okay. We're going to talk about Zay and Jersey for a minute here. So when the book first started off, it starts off with Jersey in a compromising position with a young college student. She
Mm-hmm.
was exploring out here, I guess you could say. She was having a waiting to exhale moment, if you guys know when.
could have had a V8.
Yes,
Yeah.
could have had a V8 moment. And but immediately upon reading the book, it kind of made me sad. Just knowing that she was using that because it was very apparent in the beginning that she was using that as an escape from
Mm-hmm.
something. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but we know that she's using that as an escape from something. And it made me a little bit sad that she was doing that. This young woman, she's probably hurting and trying to overcome something. And that was the way that she was trying to overcome it with that. And so I was like, oh, this book about to be deep. I was like, oh Lord,
Mm-hmm.
she about to take me down yonder because, like I got sad. But right after that, I want to say in chapter 2 or 3, she meets Zay, and that's how I kind of got out of it a little bit, but it was still giving like a little bit sad vibe. So Jersey is running from something. We don't know what. She's trying to get away from something or not be involved in something. And one of the things that we recognize is it has something to do with her mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately when she's referring to her mother and that it's not her fault, I just knew that her mother and her dad was like blaming her for her mom and all of that. I thought her mom had died in childbirth.
Mm.
So for a long time, that's what I was thinking. So when it came out, what actually happened, I was shocked at that. I really was. I was shocked at it. So you have Jersey. She's going through college. She's 19 years old. Is that right? I think so. She's 19.
I'm
And she's
19.
yeah. She's 19 years old and she's sleeping. She's not sleeping around. I didn't get the impression that she was like sleeping with a lot of guys. She was, but she wasn't like shy to sex.
Right. She just was not having healthy sex. It was unhealthy. The way for her reason for doing it was unhealthy is what made
right.
it.
Right. It wasn't necessarily because she enjoyed it, which she did enjoy it, but she was also trying to get away from something.
It
She
was an
was using
outlet.
it
It was
as an outlet for her. And it wasn't always a pleasant outlet. She was getting bombed in these sexcapades she was having. She wasn't always getting hers out the deal every single time. So we meet her, and that's how we meet her. And that's why I'm saying that was my first impression of her. When I meet Devin, I felt like they were going to be together because I didn't know how the story was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I got the impression, I know this is touched on later in the book, that she was in love with him. Was that the case?
I don't think she was ever in love with him. I just think they were each other's like safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And they were younger, the things that Devin didn't have as much trauma in that way as Jersey did, but they connected musically and they were each other's safe space. So I know Devin, in one of the books, Devin admits that he had feelings for her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jersey did love Devin. I just don't think, I don't think he was and also I just don't think he was healthy enough at the time to have even looked at him in a way that was
right.
Either one of them.
Right.
Okay, so that's how we're introduced. Devin and Jersey are best friends. For anyone who doesn't know, they're best friends. They've been knowing each other since childhood, and they developed a friendship through music. That was how they met each other. He heard her playing her guitar, and that's how they became friends, and they just stayed friends, ended up going to the same college because, they were just that close. And so that was the next person that we're introduced to in the story. And so then we're introduced to the band, but in introducing us to the band, we meet one of the bandmates' cousins, and that is Zay. So that is the male lead in the story. Mm-hmm. And I'm smiling because when Zay is introduced, this man is fine, or this young man is fine as all get out. Who is Zay? You got some real life Zays going on over there? No.
No.
No real life character inspiration.
Zay was made specifically for Jersey. Like when I started writing this story, I only had really Jersey's character in my head. I knew I wanted to write about a woman who played the bass guitar. I'd not read a lot of books about women musicians who played instruments. You read a lot about singers and stuff like that, which is fine, but yeah, after I got her backstory in my head, I knew I needed to create a dude that could handle her, all the ways she needed to handle. So Zay was made for her specifically.
So he's of lighter complexion. Of course, he has this low curly hair and gray eyes, like smoky gray eyes, y'all.
Like Smokey Robinson kind of eyes. Is that what vibe you was getting?
Not for him. Robinson can look a little these days. He looks kind of alarming.
He
But
was
that
pretty.
back in the day, Smokey
It was.
maybe.
Yeah,
But
maybe back in
Yeah.
the day. Smokey a little pretty. This was like rough.
yeah, I'm
Oh,
like, yeah, he's
Well, I'm
rough.
talking about the eyes. You know, when
oh
Smokey
yeah,
Robinson
yeah.
back in the day,
Okay.
he used to look at you, and them eyes used to be very piercing
Yeah.
and
No,
But
fierce.
they was a little rough around the edges, and he come down in the basement, and they vibing, like you said. They vibing, and he is like staring her down, like immediately. So
Mm-hmm.
was it love at first sight? You think?
oh, as much
Was
I
on
think it's
Zay's behalf.
yeah, I mean, as much as I believe in that. I mean, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
he was definitely intrigued. He was definitely felt connected and drawn to her in a way that
Okay.
was not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm glad you said that. As a writer, do you believe in a love at first sight? Because we read a lot of books where they see each other and it's just like,
Yes,
go, let's
it's
get married.
instant. It's like kismet.
I mean, you know, I believe that you can feel a strong connection to someone at first sight. I do believe you could immediately feel like a spiritual connection to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not I would call it love,
Mm,
I don't know. I think that feeling could develop into love. But
mm,
I mean, you know, by that definition, I guess you could say it was a very, very, very basic level of love, maybe if it develops
hmm.
into something more. But I mean, if y'all read my books, you know, I like to keep it pretty real.
Real.
Yeah, yeah.
Real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was real. But he was feeling her
He
immediately.
was.
It's feeling
He was like, and it was a strong connection there. But
Mm-hmm.
she was feeling him, but she was trying to make it seem like she wasn't feeling him.
yeah.
Or
And I
I
mean, I
think she
think
just
part
had
of
her reservations
yeah,
about
I
it
mean,
all.
yeah, yeah, probably. And I mean, I think part of his intrigue with her too is like where he was in his life because he's just leaving a situation because he feels like he needs to like get out, you know, and then he comes and the first thing he sees is something that very much interests him. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt put even more on it. And I think for her part, she was obviously like attracted to him physically, but she had so many reservations and walls and so much that she had to work through. She probably wasn't even immediately able to put a finger on what she felt for him. You
Mm-hmm.
know, her instinct was to run. If it
Mm-hmm.
felt good, it couldn't be true.
Right.
so he came on kind of strong immediately. And I like the way that their relationship started because her wanting to move not move at all at first, and then once she does develop some kind of feelings, it's like it turns into an immediate sexual thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a little bit shy to that. But I like the way that their relationship started because it seems like it was started out of their love for music, but it also had like that personal, her mom had died and then
Mm-hmm.
his siblings had died. So I felt like they bonded over that
Their
as well.
traumas.
Was it anything more than the other, you think? Like, was it music or was it, just them dealing with grief, or was it a mix of all of that?
Um, I think it was a mix, but I think you have to be really careful when you talk about like bonding over trauma, because that's how you can create a very unhealthy relationship.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he and I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've read this book. I wrote it a
No,
while.
you're fine. You're fine.
I think
We got you. We got you.
I think Zay felt I think Zay on some level recognized that. He knew that she was dealing with, even if he didn't know specifically what that trauma was, he recognized the pain in her. And I think because he recognized that, um he was mindful of how he dealt with her and how quickly things progressed with them. So I think but yeah, I mean, I think that they felt like a kismet kind of bond, and part of it was trauma, part of it was music, part of it was just because their personalities kind of balanced each other. He calmed her down because she
Mm-hmm.
could
Yes.
live wire sometimes. She's very reactive. He was not. Well, I think Zay did kind of have a temper.
He did because he was ready to throw down a couple of times.
Reaction. It wasn't like oh, like I'm flying off the handle. It was like if he snapped at you, it was because like you really disrespected this boundary that he had already set up. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I forgot the question. I feel like I'm rambling.
We were. I was saying you answered it because I was saying, was it a mix of like their bond and them bonding? Was it a mix of everything? And you said basically it was a mix of everything. And so as they're going through their motions, getting to know each other, he told her off the bat though, I like you.
Right.
Like I want to get to know you more and on a different type of level than us just being friends. And she was so you learn throughout the story that her and her father are somewhat estranged, but not, he has some issues with her because of her mother dying. He blames her for her father blames her for her mother's death. And so there's some resentment there, and he's somewhat verbally abusive towards her, and so she's dealing with all of that. So she's not able to receive what Zay is trying to give.
Would you say she's not being able to receive a male's love? Just love in general from a male, regardless of who it is, father, friend, whatever. Would you be able to say she's not in that space, or she doesn't have that mental capacity to receive it yet because of her trauma with her dad? Is that why it took so long?
I think to a degree, yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know if y'all can hear that. Sorry.
You're fine.
I don't know if it was just limited to men. I think she had problems with like intimacy and receiving and believing that intentions were true with kind of everybody. I mean, she was good with them because they had already established their relationship. But you see, she even has a thing with Willow, with her roommate. I think she really, really, she got to a place. I think Zay pushed her to really deal with herself in a way that no other relationship did, because she felt all of these things for Zay and realized. I'm sorry, I don't know if y'all can hear that. Good grief. That's my
I can't hear nothing, I don't think.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's just on my end because I'm like, Lord. Okay, anyway, but yeah, I think Zay pushed her to recognize that she had to deal. He made her look at herself differently. He made her realize he had to like do some internal things and get some work going on to be able to have a healthy relationship, not just with other people, but with herself. She didn't have a healthy relationship with herself, and that's really key for her. So yeah, I mean, and I think because she actually did like Zay and did feel connected to him, it forced her in a way that the other dudes that she was messing with, she didn't care about him.
They wasn't getting no love.
Right.
But Zay was the mirror that she needed.
Yeah. Right. He was so mature.
He was.
And that was like my draw to him. He was already fine. But then he was so mature, like, when they started feeling each other and started feeling some type of intimacy between each other, she was ready to jump his bones. She was ready to get right in that bed. And he was like, no. He was like, because he was feeling her, he wanted them to progress and get to know each other on a more intimate level. And she was saying no. She was like, no, I'm not going there with you. Or whatever, yeah. But she still wanted to have sex, and he was like, "No, if you don't want me, you don't want any of me. You don't want no part of me." And I thought he was so mature for that.
I did too.
Yeah, I struggled. I actually asked one of my friends about that scene because I thought it was really important for Zay to establish that boundary with her, because he didn't want to be like everybody else in her life, and he thought that if they had sex that early, that would be she would be easily able to push him into that same category, and he didn't want that. So I actually asked it. Now that you guys are first I was thinking like, what scene was that? But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I actually asked about that scene. I was like, but I knew I had to write him. He had to have a certain maturity level to deal with her anyway.
Right.
If
So
he
he
was
has
immature,
had.
it wouldn't have worked at all.
Right. I mean, but that's how you know you can separate the boys from the men, you know, because men are looking for something more deeper, a more mental and emotional connection versus boys are just looking for something physical.
I don't
So,
know, LaCorey. Some of these men be out here on some
but
other shit
are they
too.
really considered men though? You know, because Zay was looking for, you know, he wanted her. He didn't want just the physical. He wanted to know everything about her.
Yeah, he did definitely wanted to know her on a deeper level, and I was feeling him for that. So their
At
relationship
such
is
a young age,
yes,
Lord.
because he was young, but he had been through some things. So he had lost his siblings, and I can't remember his childhood too much. I don't even know if you touched on it that much, but I feel like even before the siblings died, he was kind of like the man, or like the head, or helping
The man in
everyone
charge. He was the
in the
man of the
family,
house.
right? So he probably had to develop that amongst his family first, and then dealing with everything that he had to deal with the death of his siblings probably matured him even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so their relationship is progressing. You have Devin, you have Willow, who is her roommate. I loved Willow. She was this bubbly personality, fun, just like I felt like she was a breath of fresh air for her and the person
Yes.
that she needed. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. I wanted Willow to be, yeah, Willow needed, we needed some contrast to Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Jersey is a very, and especially because it's written in first person and you're in
Mm-hmm.
her head the whole time and she has a
Mm-hmm.
lot going on. Yeah, I wanted Willow. It's important. It was important for me, even in developing Jersey's character, to have her develop a relationship with someone who was so on the outside, at least opposite of her,
Mm-hmm.
and someone else who would push her to grow in another way. And so, their friendship was tested, throughout the book. And it made Jersey realize what she didn't want to be and how she did want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, and Willow was just cute. She was
She
a
Yeah,
was.
so
She
kind
was
of
a
like she's like
cute.
a beacon of light, you
Even when she
know,
was
a ray
mad,
of
she was
sunshine.
cute.
yeah.
She was. She was.
Yes.
We
So
all
their
got that one
relationship
friend.
is there one. Yeah, she was. I felt like she was what Jersey needed in a
Mm-hmm.
friend, because she was a contrast to her, but I felt like because Jersey had a problem trusting people, and so
Mm-hmm.
she didn't trust people with herself. And I think her being the way that she was allowed her to be able to kind of, be able to trust someone other than Devin, who was her best
Right.
friend. Willow
Right.
is her roommate. And so they're progressing in their relationship, getting to know each other. So let's bump into this father. I really don't want to talk about him because he pissed me off. But her dad.
You gotta
So
have the villain.
he,
Yeah.
you hear little bits and pieces about the dad in the beginning of the story. Devin, mentions, oh, you probably talked to your pops today, kind of thing. And then Willow said a few things about him, but you really don't know. He got something with him, but you don't know what it is. So we're introduced to him while she is on her way to a gig. Again, they're in a band, so they're on their way to a gig, and he calls her, right, with everyone in the car. And he is drunk. Okay. And
He
he
is
is
10-10
going
to the wind.
he is going off on her because she asked him for $50, I want to say. He's going off on her and he's just cursing her out, and people can hear. Again, she didn't want Willow to know, her background, or, her
Mm-hmm.
family life or anything like that. And now she's being exposed
Mm-hmm.
to her dad in this way, the for the first time. And I struggle with their relationship, the dad and Willow. And I had to remember that she was such a young girl. I had to
Mm-hmm.
remember that she was so young, because I felt like, why wasn't she upset with him for the way
You
that he had treated her?
Oh, like why wasn't Jersey upset with them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, I think you're right. I think she's young.
Mm-hmm.
She's just moving, you've just moved from that situation into your own life. It's normalized for her.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that it was wrong, but that was her normal. And it takes getting around other things, other people and other situations to 100% fully realize, wait a minute, this is actually not normal at all on any level. The other thing is that she's an only child, and that's her,
Right.
and
And
that's
that's
her.
her dad. That's what I was getting ready to
Even
say.
though, I mean, I think a lot of times, even in actual life, you want to be able to say, I'm cutting this person off, and I'm not,
Right.
when you're dealing with family, especially in a situation where that person was previously your sole provider. I mean, that was his daughter.
Right.
I think you have to sometimes work yourself up to that point of establishing boundaries, and and she had not that scene happened fairly early, I think, in the book.
Mm-hmm.
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 And she had not worked herself up to that level of being able to even stand up to him. Yeah, I think those kind of relationships are very complicated. We all from the outside know that it's toxic and not cool, but I think sometimes in it takes a little bit more to nudge you. Like I said, especially when you're talking about a dependent relationship like that, father and a daughter, and especially when you're that young.
Right.
And like you said, she doesn't have anybody else to lean on. She doesn't have anybody else to bounce that energy off of and kind of sort of keep her grounded. Like this all I got. So
He was all she had outside
her
of
mom is
Devin
gone.
at
I
the
don't have any
time.
siblings. You really didn't make a reference to any aunts or uncles. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
it's
why
the
I think
only family I have.
exactly. And that's why I think the band kind of stepped up, and that's why I wrote them like I did. And even as you continue throughout the series, you really see that more. They really operate like a family.
They
Mm-hmm.
do. They
That really
do.
fills a void for all of them, all of the characters and the various points that they need, because all the characters deal with something. But that's just how I write. But yeah, they feel that family role for each
I
other.
loved
They
it. I
do.
absolutely loved it. And she got what she needed from Devin, from Willow. If they wasn't beefing, which they had like a little small fight, they had like a little small fight. It wasn't really big, but if they weren't beefing, everybody had their role in her life and rallied around her. So I had another question because this kind of broke my heart, and I'm like, why did she do this? But when they went to play, I think it was in another town. They went to go play in another town, and she got into a fight with the girl at the club. She had been drinking. She had talked to her dad. It made her want to drink, all this and that. They were at a gig, and she got into a fight with the girls, and she lost her ring. The only thing that she really had of her mother's, right? She lost it. And Zay stayed at the club after they had left to find this ring. And I just knew when he came back, because he was there for a long time looking for the ring, that he was going to have the ring, but he never found the ring. Well, he didn't find the ring.
It's the effort. I think it was the effort that she wanted to put out there, the hope.
Oh, right.
You
Okay.
know?
And also the ring was just kind of symbolic for me. Like the ring, she whenever she was in distress, she was always twirling the ring.
Right.
The ring represented like her holding, and this is not to say she couldn't hold on to her mom, but it's just to say
Right.
it represented her holding on to like this old guilt that she felt
Mm.
even hers to hold on.
Mhm.
And so when she let that ring go, or when she lost it accidentally, it put her on a new path. And then at the end, when Zay gives her another ring, it's representative of her, coming into a new, more healthy relationship with herself, even.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A new phase in her life.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm glad I asked you about that because it was significant, but it wasn't super significant, but it was significant to me when it happened because I was just like, in a perfect world he would have found the ring. But now that
Right.
you said like that, it means so much more. Like it was like, okay, you have to shed that guilt.
Mhm.
So losing the ring was her shedding the guilt. Now
The
that was
ties
freaking
have
cool.
officially been cut.
That was cool. Okay, so we only have a few more minutes, but so we get through her going through everything with her dad, her losing the ring. She does have some more down moments throughout the book, but then Zay, who has been somewhat not a savior for her, but a sounding board, someone she can trust, all of that, he's been that for her. And then towards the end of the book, he needs her because it is the anniversary of his siblings dying in a car crash, and he feeling some type of way. And I think they were a little bit at odds at the time because she felt like he was like kind of falling for her, and she was like, you don't want to do that because I'm no good for you type of deal. So she
Right.
pushed him away. So they were kind of beefing at the time. And so he needed her, and she kind of went to be there for him. And I think that was the first time that I saw her grow
Mm-hmm.
in the book, when
Mhm.
when she got the car and she met him. I think it was at a dock or something like that, and sat with him and was there for him. Was that another level of maturity or anything significant that happened with that for you?
Another level of intimacy for her.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both. I think every time that she would get into some kind of altercation with someone she was close to, I was trying to show that she was growing. Even after she
Mm,
apologized to Willow, that was a growth thing on her part, because she was the type that would cut you off. She
Right.
would be done with it. And for yeah, and also just to show that she was like a sweet person. She just didn't. She had so many barriers up. She didn't
Mm-hmm.
very many opportunities to show it, but she was feeling him too. And I was really trying to show intimacy as well, because I think they had something was similar with them. The, I
her
think they
mom,
shared a
dad, and
baby.
his siblings died. Is that what you're talking about,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
no?
yeah. It was like a similar, yeah. So they had like a whole kismet,
Mm-hmm.
a deeper connection as well. But yeah, I mean, and then also to show that, yeah, she liked him. She was already in love with him
She
at that
liked
point.
him.
Right.
She liked him.
Right.
She
Cared
liked
about
him from the beginning. I felt like she
She
liked him from the
did.
beginning, but she had that wall up because she felt like she had to have the wall up. But I think the fact that he wasn't like the other guys that she had been dealing with, they were regular college guys, silly, corny, and then here he comes, this mature, manly like type of guy. It was like, okay, I can, kind of let the wall down a little bit for him
I could be
because I can
trusting.
see that he's for real. So of course she's there for him, and she has another run in with her father around the holidays. They go home. They're from Georgia,
yeah,
and they
from
go
Atlanta.
home for that time. And while they're there, it's some other stuff going on with her dad throughout the book. He kind of gets a new family. He meets this woman. The woman
Mm-hmm.
has kids, and he gets this new family. And when she goes home for the holidays, it's almost like she's been replaced with this new
Mm-hmm.
family. And she is so upset that this is the time that they eventually have sex, because she says to him, I need you right now.
I need this release.
Right. And he's still trying to like push her off, but she was like, look, I really need you at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did eventually have sex. Again, they're young adults. So it wasn't like super duper like in super duper detail, but
Mm-hmm.
they do eventually have sex. They get through that, and after that, she actually leaves him alone.
Mhm.
She
I
doesn't
think
want
that's
to
her
deal
fight
with
or
him
flight kicking in.
anymore.
What do
Right.
you think, Jacinta? Was that what it was?
Yeah, yeah. I think that definitely was what it was. She was feeling way too much. That was her. She runs. She didn't. She didn't have the capacity to deal with her emotions and his emotions. And yeah, that was. She was scared. I think.
Mm.
I think it would have been disingenuous to have them get together at that point, because she's not healed to a point yet to be able to. In my opinion, I don't think she'd healed enough to be able to like keep on with a healthy relationship with him. She wasn't. healthy really yet to me. She
So
probably
they
would
do end up together with you saying that. What do you think healed her? What do you think allowed her to get to that point where they're in that place where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this with him?
I think it was just the combination of the totality of their relationship. I think she just needed some time. I think she needed a few things to happen. For her to realize how jealous she was that some other chick was checking for him.
For sure.
Right.
That'll get you in gear every time.
That part.
Right. Two, for her to, she really needed to settle things with her dad in a way that felt emotionally true to her. I mean, I've had people ask me, like, because people like wanted him dead. Like,
okay.
They wanted that relationship completely sliced off in that book. And I didn't feel like that was genuine either. I didn't feel like that was really realistic either. I felt like it was more realistic for her to step back and say, okay, I'm going to live my life and do my own thing and try to set realistic expectations for what I can get out of you in my relationship with you as your daughter. And even if those expectations are super low, I don't think that she would have cut him 100% off at that point. But yeah, I mean, I think she needed to get things settled with her dad. And I think the scene where Zay talks to her dad helps her realize as well, like, again, her realize her worth, someone's there to actually stand up for herself. Because you see, she was like shrinking under the presence of her dad, just clinging for love from him.
I was so mad at him. I just was like, ugh.
He was a terrible
But
person.
Zay stepped up for her. He stepped up for her. He was like, I got her. He's like, you ain't got to worry about her. I got her. I got her. And so
that was beautiful.
It really was. Like, I was like, yes. And that daddy was still tripping. So yeah, it was a beautiful story. I loved their progression, the character development, their relationship. And I have not read Willow's story, but I want to. I would love to see what happened between them, because you get a glimpse of it in this book, but I want to go in deep.
Well, it's on Audible, Shaquana.
I know. I gotta keep going.
Pop them earbuds in. That's what I appreciate you so much, Miss Howard. You put all your books on Audible. I just pop them in, honey, and you just go. And you play your games with the narrators. Because
is that usually how you do it? Do you do it like you pop the book out in the Audible at the same time?
No.
No.
I mean, just to be real with you, that the prototype series, I signed a publishing deal for that one.
Okay.
On Audible. But you'll see, like, a lot of the reason why indie romance authors in particular, why some of our books are not on there, is because we're paying for it. And it's they're very expensive upfront costs. So but most of my books, not all of them, but I've put 3 out on my own. So yeah, but I'm glad the prototype got out, and I'm glad I was able to get Jacoby, DM, and on, who are just out of this world.
They brought it to life.
Yes, they did.
They're so talented. So
yeah.
So will we get a novella of these of the prototype series, or is this been put to bed?
Yes, no, there are novellas available. So it's called The Love Below. It takes place after so the prototype is 4 books: Happiness in Jersey, Finding Kennedy, Keeping Willow, and Loving Cassie. And then following the events of Loving Cassie, all the books are kind of interconnected.
Right.
And then, Loving Cassie wraps, there's a follow-up book called The Love Below, and it's like mini, I call them glimpses. It's like little mini stories on all 4 couples. And there's a bonus story on the band's manager, who you meet in Finding Kennedy. His name is Jay Little. There's a small bonus story with him as well. So
I have to check that out. I didn't know about that.
Available on Audible too.
And okay.
Check that out. Right. I missed that.
We gotta get him.
You guys think about that, yeah, because once you finish the whole thing, because the story kind of continues. It catches them after they're out of school, after
Right.
they're famous.
Adult life is hitting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
I'm
I
excited.
will see you in a couple of weeks. LaCory is nesting probably.
I am
She
nesting,
expecting
honey.
a baby soon, so
Oh,
she's not coming to Atlanta with us, but Patrice and
No.
I will be there. So we'll get a chance to meet you at Alexandria Houses the experience. Is there anything that you want to share with your fans, what they can
What are you working
expect, or it's just
on?
like, come on out?
What are you
um,
working on?
I'm working on I'm working on a few things. I have like a few projects in the works now. Whether or not how quickly they come out is another story. But I'm working on the follow up to one of my books the night before, and then I have another short that I'm working on that I'm fairly close to finishing. But yeah, I actually have a few projects in the works. It's just getting the time to focus in on.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah,
Are these
if
standalones or are they interconnected into your?
world.
Yeah.
Honestly, all of my books at this point are interconnected in some way. They're all standalone. Like I try to write all of my books so that you can read them as a standalone, even the ones in
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
Right.
pretty much read any of my books as a standalone, but all of my series have some connecting element that,
Mhm.
like you would know if you read them all, but you
Right. Right. Right.
Mm.
so yeah, that's what I'm working on. And then if you want to follow anything that I'm doing, you can go to jacintahoward.net, and then you can get to all my social and stuff from there. And then that's it. And I look forward to seeing you at
I know it's gonna be
party.
so exciting. But like I said, is there anything that you want to share, or you just want people to come out and just see you at the
Yep,
experience?
yep, come out and see me, holler at me. I'm excited. I'm very happy that Alexandria um asked me to be there. I'm grateful for that. She's cool people.
Yes,
Um
I think it's
Yes.
gonna be an amazing experience. It's
It
gonna be an
have a
experience,
is.
great
and I'm
outfit there.
excited. If y'all see me acting a different kind of way, don't judge me. Just keep it moving. So I'm
That's
excited.
sweet.
Thank you so much. So that's how people can get in touch with you at your website. We'll make sure we list that in the show notes and make sure you guys have all of that. And the thing, do you have anything else that you want to say before we get off? We've talked about what you're working on. Is the Alexandria House event, is that the only thing that you're going to be at this year? Or
Yeah, that's the only right now that's the only signing I'm at. My husband and I host an event called Lit Atlanta. And so
Okay.
like a book event. And we've been on hiatus for a little while, but we're probably going to bring it back this October. So be on just
Okay.
on the lookout for that.
okay.
Yeah, that's about it. And just follow me at Jacinta Howard. You can see all my jacintahoward.net, and you can see all the stuff that I'm working on in the fiction world and all the stuff that I'm doing for my other writing.
All
As well.
right.
Okay.
Okay, that's
All right.
cool.
I can't
Well,
wait to
we
see what that
appreciate
comes.
you, girl. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. And
Also,
LaCory already asked about her Audible. And so we'll see you in a couple weeks.
thank you
Yes.
so much. And
Thank
congratulations on
you.
your baby.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, girl. My face done blew up. Pregnancy
Exciting
has
times,
really
though.
set in at
Yes,
this
baby.
point. Oh, Lord.
Is this your first?
Already. Huh?
Your first?
No, it's my second. It's my
Oh.
second. And this is the final call. This is it. This is it. This is it. And I'm ready to be back outside with my friends. Seeing my little Facebook and
With your hood
Instagram.
rat friends, LaCory.
Right. I want to be back outside with y'all. I want to go to Lit Atlanta. I want to go to Alexandria House Experience.
Well,
That's
the thing
okay.
is, it did happen. I mean, Alexandria, this is like what her second or third event, I
I think
think.
it's her
Mhm.
second event.
Yeah, so she'll probably be keep doing it. And
I'm
then
hoping and praying so. And I live in Tennessee, so Atlanta's just a skip, hop, and a jump away for me to come down and check out your husband's event.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and October is a great time to be in Atlanta. The weather's perfect.
Mhm.
It'll get cooled down and yep.
Yep.
So
Cool,
So keep us
cool.
posted. Keep us posted.
All righty. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you so much for
thank
joining us
you.
tonight. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye, Jacinta.